So this is how I actually mix. I'm in Studio One. So I'll create, I've already tracked drums, believe it or not. I've actually tracked on a computer running Studio One, a different computer running a second copy of Studio One for tracking. And then I just airdrop files over to this computer, which is hooked up to studio monitors, and it's, you know, another and a couple of different monitors, whatever. It's just the way I like to do things. And so I'm going to hit new. I'm going to go to templates. No, actually, I'm going to go to user. I'm going to go to this template that I've created that kind of has everything, my chains all set, buses all set, effects, channels, all that stuff. Let's see. I'm going to call it Rogers. And I'm going to make sure it creates this project folder in another folder I already have on my hard drive called projects. Click open, 44.1, fine, 24-bit, all according to this template I like to use. So then I just click OK. And it's going to open up the template. And it's going to take its sweet time. Boom. So, all right, so here's Studio One. Let me just collapse some of those chains down. Obviously, my mixer's open. If I shut it off, we're just looking at my template, which has got tracks already set up for kick. Alien 8 is another kick mic, snare, rack tom, floor, blah, 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 blah. Overhead. I have a Golden Age ribbon microphone that I use like as my fun track, and for this session, I used it as a crotch mic. Upon quick listening to the one of the kick mics, which is a surface mic, which is actually underneath the kick drum, which is actually a really cool sound. I think the level was too hot and it was a little distorted, but I might not use that track, but we'll figure it out. I got to go to my Finder window where I downloaded the folder, or the files rather, the WAV files from the actual recording session. I'm going to go to Projects, go to Rogers. There should be, not yet, it hasn't been created yet, but Studio One likes to auto-create a folder called Media for all the recorded tracks to go in. I just do that manually because it's a new project. I haven't recorded anything yet. So now I've got all the tracks in here. So then I just drag stuff in, right? This is all rudimentary stuff that I know you know how to do. Let me go to this kick WAV file. I think it's way too hot. You can kind of see how these waveforms are just super tight up against that ceiling. Let me just loop a beat, and I'm going to start mixing stuff, but I want to isolate this kick. Actually, it's hot, but it's not as distorted as I thought. You can hear the difference between the two kick mics. This Alien 8 is a cool microphone that's about a foot or two out in front of the kick drum. And like I said, the kick drum mic, sometimes it's an internal mic and sometimes it's just my surface mic sitting on the floor. It's sort of underneath the front reso head, sticking halfway out, which usually has a really cool sound. It's just too hot right now. But anyway, we'll try to fix it. But let me continue bringing in the other tracks. So we got snare next, SM57 in the usual location. Actually, I'll make sure everything starts right at 0. Boom. Okay, but let me just quickly fast forward through this annoying section. Okay, since I didn't have my second floor tom in this recording at all, I'm just going to remove that track. I'm going to play this. I'm going to isolate. I might even not even use some of these tracks. This is that Golden Age crotch mic, kind of getting a little bit of everything. These overheads are pretty hot, but they sound pretty good. Sometimes I just like going with a kick mic and a couple of overheads. So let's mix using this groove. and a loop. Let me turn it up. You're just hearing what's coming through my studio monitors. All right, and at this point, I open up my mixing panel here and make sure my chains are all visible. And let's just collapse all the tracks down a little bit so we can see what's going on. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, kick. Let's get the kick sounding good. So let's turn off everything else. Whoops. Let's go to solo mode for just the kicks. That's fucking massive. I have Hornet VU meters where I can, for gain staging purposes, let me open up the second one. What I like to do is just limit these. They're only at -6B. This is sometimes for when I am mixing for social media, where everyone's just listening through a tiny little iPhone speaker. So I like to make everything a little oversaturated and punchier so that when you're holding your phone in your hand and you're watching my drum videos, you actually feel, it's almost like that haptic feedback you get from your keyboard when you feel the kick and snare and some of the drums where you actually feel the phone vibrate a little, but it's totally not cool for mastering music in general. But anyway, so I could go to probably more like -10. -10 here, and I'm going to click auto. I'm going to play this. And now it's controlling the output. The maximum decibel reference is going to be at -10, which is going to keep these kick drums in control and not get too out of control. Then the next thing I do is auto align. Hold on, it's opening up on my other monitor, so let me just drag it over here. So I open up auto align here and auto align on the second kick drum track. Here it is. I've got them, I got this one sending to channel 1 or track or just the numerical value of 1, and this second kick drum track is receiving from 1. So while it's playing, I hit detect. What this is just doing phase alignment. I'm going to hit play and do detect on both. Watch these numbers here and here. There. Now they're in phase. So it detects how out of phase they are and just corrects it for me digitally. And then from here, so this Alien has a lot more of a low thuddy thump. This has a really nice punch too. This is the surface mic underneath the kick. They sound good. I probably only need one of these. But since I have two, I also have this virtual mix rack from Slate Digital. It actually doesn't have that many. I'll show you another chain on here. But I can add EQ to this. So let me go to, let's go to Classic Strip and let's actually reset it. Let's go to, that's snare punch. Let's go to, let's go here and have it load. Oh, a bunch of these I don't even have. Sorry. Let me go to, actually, let's do this. I'm going to delete. Sorry. I'm going to remove it. I'm going to go to my browse mode here, go to effects, virtual mix rack. I want to drag this in. And this is what it typically looks like. All right, and usually I set this to British N. I learned a lot from Alan Evans in terms of mixing, recording and mixing drums specifically. And these are a lot of the settings I've adopted from his because he gets such a great sound. Here's my EQ. I usually play with a little top end if I want more punch or more of that like initial clicky hit. For the most part, yeah, I don't touch these that much. That's a little too much. If I want, I can apply so much of almost anything at this point. Make a fatter kick. I can add thickness, which we don't want to do. It's already crazy thick. I don't even really need these. I have a trimmer here If I want to just limit, but I already have a limiter. Like I showed you, that Hornet VU meter is already limiting stuff. So for me, this is great. I have a silencing app. Let me show you this. It's kind of cool. I sometimes use it if I want a tight, really tight sound. This is like an AI-based gate. If I turn it off, listen to all that bleed. That's a crazy amount of bleed, but bleed is, as you know, sometimes good. And here it is with it on. It does an amazing job of isolating the kick or anything else. It has presets for snare, presets for the bottom of the snare, and toms. This is obviously set to kick. I can actually hit ghost. It'll allow in some of the ghost sort of bleeding, some of the bleed from the other instruments. And I can dial that in. It's incredible. So for this, since I'm demoing a drum set, literally, no other instruments, I'm okay with a little bit of bleed. We'll leave it at that for now. Knock is another great plugin I sometimes use, but this is often when I want like hip hoppy sounds. Let me show you. It's actually really good with snare. But here it is with kick. You can add punch. You have all these presets. Or an 808 beefy kick. It's hard to hear that through these speakers. For now, I think I might just turn it off. Oh, it is off. Hold on. Hear that? I think it's going to blow my speakers out. Because I had it set to 808 beefy. But I could go to like a breakbeat lo-fi. You can even see how much saturation it's kind of giving back. But for this, I want a clean, just open drum sound. Fine. So let's go to snare. Let's solo out the snare. So same thing. It's at -6. I think that's fine, but I'm going to hit auto, and it's going to just set this track to -6 decibels. Or I shouldn't say set it at that. It's going to make sure it doesn't ever get beyond that. So I have, by the way, 2 kick tracks, and they get bussed into this kick track where I do most of the effects. Like, let's take just the kick, and I can turn on effects. I have an effects channel here with this plugin, this Flamingo Reverb plugin from Safari Pedals, which gives you a ton of like crazy cool reverbs. You can hardly hear that, but let me make it really exaggerated. Off, and then on. I'm going to leave it off for now, but that's how I put some effects on certain things. And that's sometimes I'll even put an effect just on one of the kick drum channels, so you still get the punch from the other channel and the reverb from the second channel. All right, whatever. Let's get back to the snare. So here's where usually what I do is I've got the Slate Digital virtual chain. So I'll play around with this a lot for the snare, depending on the sound I want. I might use a preset. In fact, let's go back to the original preset for snare. I feel like it's very tinny. Let's take this down a little bit. I'm hearing a lot of hi-hat bleed. Again, I don't mind that if I wanted to get rid of it. Actually, I do have the silencer turned on, but let's play with that a little bit. So I have snare as the preset because it is the silencer plugin on the snare itself. Turn off Ghost. Like, look, the gate on that is so darn tight. It almost, if I don't hit it hard enough, it doesn't even acknowledge the snare hit at all. It's too much. I like some Ghost, and maybe I'll just try to dial it back a little bit. But anyway, you see the power of it. I might actually leave it off. Again, I want just a big open sound just to show these drums off. I don't want to choke these drums at all or gate them. Now I'll start to mix this with the kick drum. Maybe try some reverb. I have it set to Reverb Effects Channel 2. And for this, I have a different plugin. It's from the same company, Safari Pedals. And it's just a different type of reverb. I got a spring reverb happening. Yeah, you hear that? I mean, it's actually too much. Now, if I want this, I have knock again, the knock plugin on the snare. If I want, I can play around with the snare sound. I have it set to hard. I can bump up the saturation, the punch. I can go clean or vintage. Yeah, you can hear the difference these presets will give. They don't do that much for me for what this track is doing or what I'm intending to do, but you can just see the power of it. If I wanted like a really, again, hip-hoppy, crunchy, oversaturated groove, or like a 60s vintage kind of groove or sound, then knock is kind of cool. Again, I'm just going to leave it off because I think the snare just sounds nice as it is, wide open. Rack tom. Let's check this out. Let's find an area where I actually play it. That's here. I can see a waveform here. So here's with the silencer on and off. I'll leave the Ghost on again. I want bleed for this. And let's go to silencer. Here's the floor tom. I have them panned so that the high tom is panned as if you're watching the drummer from the audience's point of view, and floor tom panned to the left. Again, same perspective, just so it just sounds, it looks and feels better. When I go around the toms, you can hear me from right to left or left to right, depending on the orientation of your headphones. I feel like the floor tom is choked too much because of the silencer app. me find another area where there's a lot more toms going on. You can see it in here. And so for the toms, I might want to throw a little reverb on here, whatever. I'm going to play with FX3. It's another FX channel for different reverbs for different parts of the drum kit if I want. I could just, probably don't want that, but I don't know. I feel like the toms could be deeper. I don't know why they sound a little too thin. All right, whatever. I'm going to actually turn off the effects for this. I'm going to show you something that's not in this template yet, but first I want to just do overheads. So let's go to overhead channel. You'll see I have my overhead left and right. They're all being sent to overhead sub, or bus rather, sorry. I didn't show you any of this, by the way. Both toms get sent to the toms bus, which goes out to another bus called drums. So this is how I set it all up, right? Two kicks, these two channels get sent to a bus called kick, this one, which gets sent to drums. Snare gets sent to this bus, which gets sent out to drums. Toms get sent to a bus that gets sent out to another channel called drums. Overheads, including the crotch, get sent to drums. This, why I do this, and then drums get sent, everything gets sent to here ultimately, and then this gets sent out to main. Because what I like to do, actually no, that's an overhead, sorry, it's here. This is the drums bus, the main bus that all the drums get put out of, because I'd like to actually add this one sort of global effect to just the drums sometimes. This allows me to do that, to sort of tie all the drums together mix-wise. I'm going to turn on this plugin, yet another plugin. I'm get a little plugin heavy sometimes, but they're nice to have even if you don't end up using them. But this is a great plugin, BSA Drum Bus from BSA, and lots of presets. I can slam the drums hard or not. It's really subtle, but it does make a difference. Compression I can play with. I don't know if I want to slam these drums. I don't want to over compress them either. I can add heat, whatever that means. Tone I can play with. I hear very little to no difference right now because I'm just wailing away on toms, but you can add a little salt. Probably that's kind of like a saturation thing. Attack, I think where I'm at here is fine. You can hear the difference when I turn it on and off. This is Fresh Air. This is, I forget who this is from. It might be from Slate. But either way, it just adds a little bit of high end and mid end if you want it. Honestly, whatever I think I want to add, I usually then I back off of it about halfway from where I was. Because part of me knows that I've lost a lot of the high end in my hearing over the years from playing live, and that I'm overcompensating. And also when you export to MP3 or whatever, that sometimes, especially through an iPhone speaker, you hear plenty of highs no matter what. More highs than you think you actually mixed in. So I am very cautious about using Fresh Air. Maybe a little bit. I don't even need it. It makes very little difference. Here's a plugin that I really like. It's in post. It's kind of like a mastering plugin, although I'm not technically mastering anything. It's from Abbey Road Studios, TG Mastering Chain. Mix or drum bus is what I have set here, but there's so many great presets. I'll show you with it on and off. Again, it's probably hard to hear the difference. It's subtle, but it's noticeable. And one more thing I'm going to show you is this universal audio plugin. I could put that in, let's say, probably in the drums bus. Let's go to here and drag it in. And this is going to open up. This is a great plugin. So it's already on, and you can hear the difference it's made, whether you like it or not. Hold on. Let me just go to a groove. So you can see, like, it's just crazy. I could do just reverb. It's adding kind of like a slapback, and I'm not sure why, but you get the idea. Let's go to live. I wonder if it's just because I have other effects on and it's just too much for it. Yeah. Oh, that room gives like a ton of hum. If we don't like room 2, let's go back to room 1. We can go to close miking using C414s, which are nice mics, or at least emulating that rather. That's a great sound right there. I turned off the room equalizer, but I kept dynamics and chamber on. And that's a Bonham sound, dude, from a 1968 Rogers kit with a 20-inch kick drum. Let's just leave that as is. So here's the difference. The last thing I'll show you, the difference here is turning off all these effects and toggling between just the raw drum tracks when I recorded them, as I recorded them, and then turning this on again. So let's start with all the effects and plugins, everything off. On. It's huge difference. It sounds amazing. I've turned off all these effects here. I've got a lot of these plugins off. They're there if I need them. But yeah, I'm happy with that sound. It sounds like a complete drum set. Nothing's too gated or isolated. I'm not trying to separate every drum and then bring them back together by artificial means, or plugins rather. So bleed is fine, as you know, but that, as you asked, like how do I get the drum sounds I get, that's pretty much it. If I was recording tracks for a specific song, like a cover, I would approach things a little bit differently, mixing wise, and maybe even miking wise. But for the most part, yeah, that's it. I've made good use out of the plugins that I have without trying to rely or depend on them. Anyway, I hope this helps.